Hey everybody, it's Jane Johnston with the Briar Hill Group at Remax Comox. I'm here with our cross-country market update for Remax preferred realtors across Canada. So welcome everybody.
Welcome. Thanks for having us.
So let's just do a quick introduction. Tell us your name and where you're from. So let's start with Laura June.
I'm Laura June. I'm with Remax Little Oak Realty. I should know where I work, right? Remax Little Oak Realty in Surrey, BC.
Okay, Teresa.
I'm Teresa Whitmore, and I am with Remax Hallmark in Ottawa.
Carol.
I'm Carol Bass, and I'm with Remax West in the Greater Toronto area.
Katie.
Hi, I'm Katie McLachlan. I'm with Remax Sea to Sky Real Estate in Squamish, British Columbia.
Awesome. Stephen.
This is Stephen Lau from Remax Real Estate in Edmonton. I serve everything within 1 hour of our city. Thank you.
Okay, and John.
I am John Sheehan from Remax Ocean Pacific Realty in the Comox Valley, Vancouver Island.
Awesome. So, let's start with a question everybody asks you. How's the market?
Stressful.
Crazy busy.
Yes. Stressful
So yeah,
for
I have
everyone.
a couple of questions.
Buyers, sellers, agents, right? For sure.
For everybody.
So I have a question for you. First of all, when people tell you, what's my house worth these days? What do you answer? Because here what's happening is we have to list a house for less than what it's worth, I think, in order to generate multiple offers, because buyers have the expectation of paying more. So when I tell somebody a range, I say, this is where we're listing and this is where I expect to sell. What are you guys doing to determine what your list price is? Why don't we start with you, Teresa?
The very same thing, actually, exactly the very same thing. Say, look at the comparables like always and see what's sold in the last week, because really that's all that's relevant. What sold 6 months ago doesn't make a hill of beans of difference. So it's like, okay, let's see what's just sold in the last week or the last 2 weeks. We'll price it here, but I expect to get 100 to 125 to 150,000 over, because that's the norm and that's what's happening.
And do you guys find that sellers are a bit afraid of listing like that with that strategy? What about you, John?
Yeah, I mean, I go along the same lines as what you were saying, Jane. You give them a price range that they think you just want to go just under, because you're right. People are expecting to pay more than list price these last few months. And because most of my buyer clients pretty much say, so John, it's going to go for more, isn't it? And I, based on what's been happening, I simply say, yes, it's going to go for more,
So when we're getting to a point where we're with a buyer and they're writing an offer, how are you guys determining how much to offer in order to win the bid? Katie, do you have a comment on that?
To be honest, every situation's different, but obviously comparables are our number one goal, and the volume of competition that you're up against also, has an element in that. But honestly, just judging by the average sold pricing in the area and what kind of over asking prices we're seeing for that property type has really been leading the way there. But yeah, honestly, every situation's different, but 9 times out of 10, it's over asking for sure.
Okay. Laura June, I'm just wondering, when you're looking at numbers and offer prices, what are considerations that you work with when you're talking with your buyers? Here's how we're going to win the offer.
Well, we're going through a bit of a shift here. So you guys are kind of where we were maybe a few weeks ago. We're seeing things, that multiple offer situation isn't happening every time. Yeah. I'm not saying it's going to flip back into that. So we have to be very careful in each sort of situation looking at it. We're seeing price reductions. I sold a townhouse 2 weeks ago and 2 listings popped up right after me trying to, capitalize on that excitement. And both of those had price reductions this week.
Right.
So
And
it's such a, it's a case by case, and it's neighborhood by neighborhood here.
so are you finding, like, Stephen, if you're listing a property, if let's say the last sale was in your market like $599, I don't know what the hot market price is, but you list it for $610, are you missing the whole market? Just $10,000 over?
There's a cutoff point where people look up to. I met my wife through online dating. Just a little funny anecdote, okay? Now, tell the truth, if she was looking, if she's 30 years old and she's looking for a guy over 35, and I just turned 36, guess what? You're not going to be found. So you tell the sellers that there is going to be a cutoff point where you're going to be missing a lot of the buyers because you just over this threshold where they're searching up to. So I'll tell them you might be missing 30% of traffic just because you're at 605 rather than 599. So you have to explain to them that it's in your best interest to price it more aggressively, and you get more volume and a higher chance for multiple offers. So being overpriced is not a good thing.
Right. So when, Carol, are you guys also experiencing multiple offers in Toronto?
We've dropped 13% in April. We've actually cooled down, and we're noticing that a lot of the agents, because some of them don't know what to do, so some of them are actually putting it on shorter period of time, trying for a multiple just to see what happens, and then we see them going back. I would say about 30% are all going back then to a regular price. They try it, it doesn't happen on offer date, or they don't get what the seller's expectation maybe is, and now they're having to put it back on at a different price. Because we noticed they were starting, I would say, from about maybe the third week of March or almost halfway through March. I noticed that what was usually getting maybe anywhere from 10 to 12 offers are now only getting maybe 3 offers on offer night, because I think the buyers are fed up. And like they're already saying that they've noticed that the GTA sales were up 362% since April of 2020, but we've started to slow down now. So they notice that there's a difference. That's detached homes that were going that crazy. The condo market had done some slowing. Even prices had dropped from 2020, but now we're noticing they're also starting to rise. And
are you guys looking at 2020 stats? Like, I'm finding I'm not looking there.
And it's hard because they're saying that no, but they're also saying from a TREB point, you can't usually judge by it, because now what they call the buyer's pool has started to dry up because there's no immigration, there's nobody moving or coming into the area. So I think they feel that the buyer's pool has dried up a bit, the craziness. So maybe that could be contributing to a decrease in what we're seeing happening, or the cooling down.
What I'm thinking is that if we look at what Stephen was saying with the triangle, and you have the person at the top who's the outlier who is buying the property, and the majority of the people are here, is the outlier has gone. And so now we have just the regular pool. So the question is, for pricing, where are you pricing? Where are you going to be pricing to actually get the activity? And I'm telling some of my clients, like, you have to be very realistic right now. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I agree. And Stephen, I'm going to use that dating app analogy.
Yes, so
from now on. Yeah. So I'm telling my clients to price just under what they think to drive, more traffic. I think exposure is key, and the more buyers coming through, the better. So yeah, and ultimately, as for pricing and telling my clients what it's worth, and I, in these days, for the last few months, I've been saying it's whatever someone's willing to pay, and we've been seeing 10,000 over asking to 300,000 over asking. It's really that one buyer, Not to mention that craziness, what happened in Tofino last week with that 2-bedroom condo going for $1 million over asking. That's
30 years old.
yeah.
So what I do is I actually look at the comparables and then I price them from lowest to highest. And then I look and see list and sale price. And then we can almost see like there's a flip that happens. So you see up to this point that let's say here, the average price is $1 million. And I'm sorry for other people where it's not. And then it'll sell higher. And then the listings over $1 million are now selling lower. So I say to the client, like if you look at statistically where everything is sitting on the list here, you're actually you're at an advantage to price a little lower because you're going to get more money than if you price higher, right? And we all know that, but it's hard to explain it, correct?
Right.
That's right.
Okay, so what's the market doing in your area, Laura June? What is happening in your area?
Well, it is changing, but having said that, it's still a very strong seller's market. I mean, changing means that, where, we were looking at statistics and numbers we hadn't seen, now it's, fallen significantly, but still strongly into seller's market territory. So there is a bit of a shift. There's more inventory. I'm just seeing, more listings hitting the market daily. I'm just concerned that if that dries up quickly, we will go back to where it was, right? I don't think that we're in any sort of a safe zone because of that. So I think it's just ever changing. And it's so neighborhood specific. Like, a house in White Rock, there's some pockets where there's only maybe 5 out of 10 homes selling. And then you go just up the road a bit and it's 100% everybody's selling. So it's really neighborhood to neighborhood. And that's why having somebody really drill down those specific details on your property matters. You can't be that general anymore.
Mm-hmm. John sent me a referral to a lady who was looking for a very specific home. And every time we went and wrote an offer on a property, it would sell like $100,000 or $200,000 over in January. Like it was crazy. And so the prices were 9 something, and then they went up to 1.25. Well, another one came on last week, and Steven sent me this referral. And we only had 2 offers on it, and we got it $10,000 over asking. So for less than $1 million, and a very nice house on a cul-de-sac. And the buyers are like, "What's wrong with the house?"
Right. Like you're getting that phone call. What's wrong with what's wrong with that property? Hey, Laura, look at this one. It's been here for a month. What's wrong with that house? Why isn't it sold? Yeah.
So, Carol, are you finding that, so you work in a big geographic area, are you finding that the outlying areas are cooling off, and then the core, does it remain strong? What's happening?
I mean, downtown Toronto's downtown Toronto. I don't think it'll really change too much because the prices have still gone higher. I mean, they've gone up from 820,000 to $1,090,000 for an average price. So but the outside areas were crazy for a while, and all my sales seem to be selling in the city, moving to the outside, and going as far as you could go. As far as some people, I remember I was calling somebody and saying, would you like to look after a lady? She wants to go to Cobourg. So they were going like Wasaga, Niagara. For people who don't know the area, they're going an hour and a half out of Toronto, an hour to an hour and a half. And a lot of them are people maybe downsizing, or that they know they can work from home. But I did hear from a banking person that the banks are going to, so for people in banking business, they're going to have a surprise because the banks are outright owned. They're not usually leased. And they're already saying, don't be moving out of the city because as soon as this COVID's over, you're going to have to come into work. They want them physically showing up, I guess, because they own the property.
Well,
they
also,
know,
I think it has to do with corporate culture too.
right. And
Yeah.
they're already telling them, because about 3 of my clients are in banking, and they were thinking they could work from outside the city area, but they're being told that don't do that.
Mhm.
So
Katie, you're from kind of an outlying area in Squamish, like compared to Vancouver. Has it been crazy for you? And are you finding like Vancouverites are moving out to your area?
Yeah, actually, you're finding a lot of Vancouverites, a lot of Torontonians, which is kind of interesting.
look,
But yeah, a huge number of Torontonians coming across. So definitely, we're kind of acting as one of those sort of, more desirable areas to go to right now, because we are, able to go outside and actually stretch our legs and do all those fun things during a pandemic. But yeah, I mean, we're starting to see a small amount of slowing down. By no means are we like in a buyer's market or any kind of balanced market whatsoever. Definitely strong seller's market, but again, we're seeing more subjects being accepted on offers, maybe not just firm and clear. So it's kind of nice to see coming back to the table a little bit of due diligence for buyers. But yeah, it's pretty similar to what everyone's saying, but definitely, I mean, I was looking at the stats from April, and yeah, we've seen some pretty incredible increases year over year.
So what's your average house price in Squamish?
So it's actually tipped over the $1 million mark now. So if we're just looking at the average price point, it's like $1,018,000. So yeah, it's gone up by like 20% or so in the last couple of months.
Okay. Yeah. What about you, John? What's your average price? So you're on Vancouver Island, the northern part.
Well, average price today is $783,500 for a single family home. Back in January, it was $667,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about you, Laura June?
Well, a year ago in Surrey, you could get a decent house around 1.1, and now that house is selling. The average is 1.4, almost 1.4. It's like 3.87. So 1.387.
Okay, and I just want to give a shout out to Laura June because she sold for one of my clients. And what was this list and sale price on that?
The list price was $1,599,000, and we sold for $1,730,000.
How many offers?
We had 5 offers, so we didn't have 20. Like, you knew it was changing when we didn't have 20. If it was, maybe 3 weeks before that, we would have had more on that specific property, but we had 5 offers. It was enough to get it done. They're happy.
Awesome. Teresa, what is the average price there for you in Ottawa?
$658,000. It's gone up from 4 and change last year. But I can tell you that what's driving our market again is the Toronto buyers. I have so many Toronto buyers coming here because they're like, you know what? We can sell our home in Toronto. Carol can sell our house for $2 million, $3 million bucks, and we can come to Ottawa or be on the outskirts of Ottawa and buy a country property with lots of land and a double car garage and a pool and whatever, 20 minutes from the city for $900,000. So like, let's move, because everybody can, everybody wants a home office now, of course, right? So everything they look at's got to have a den and an extra bedroom so the husband and wife can be working in opposite ends of the house. But my own personal average sale price this year has been over $900,000 for almost everything that I've sold. And it's always been in constant competition with everybody. I'm feeling a lot of both buyer, seller, and realtor fatigue all the way around. I think everybody's just fed up with it. I belong to a couple of different groups, and I hear the agents saying this too. Can we just go back to doing business like we used to do business? A house comes on the market, you write an offer and you call it a day, because in the end, there's one person who wins and 12 people who lose, and we're getting so much bad press here, really a lot of bad press here. It's the real estate agents are driving this market. They're greedy. They're getting all this money. They're holding offers. I sell a ton of RCMP, and military buyers' homes. And I belong to those groups, and I see those conversations. I don't say a word, but I hear those conversations like, we can't buy a house, based on our salary, but these agents are holding offers, so we don't have a chance when we come for 5 days to find a house. We can't buy a house. I had people come back twice last year before they could buy a house. So I think it's exasperating for everybody.
Yeah, and I think they need to know that realtors are people too. I was actually saying to my husband, I think maybe the realtor fatigue will be what slows the market down, because realtors will be like, just don't.
Yeah.
We always wait till the very, very last moment to see how many offers are coming in before we decide on our strategy. And so what I found is helpful when I'm working with sellers is if they price it reasonably, then it's okay. You have to, though, really work on maintaining a really good conversation with everybody who's writing the offer, so that they feel respected. Because I think the realtor fatigue comes from feeling like I submitted the offer and I just didn't hear anything. It's like crickets.
I call everybody and thank them for working hard to put their offer together, and say, I'm sorry it didn't work this time, but let's do business again sometime. I think just that people, if they feel acknowledged, it's not just like, you're a dime a dozen. It's like, we have to acknowledge each other's efforts and time and exhaustion trying to find a house for their buyer over and over again. So I think just that small courtesy, and I tend to tag people, after I sold, said, I just did a great deal with, Carol Bass and I just did a deal and it was great and great service. And thanks, Carol, for helping, because it's good for them too. And it's good for everybody on the board to go, that's a good person to work with,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
Give first share
Teresa.
always. Yep. What about you, Stephen? How is you have had COVID, I heard. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay, and it's not the flu, guys. So please tell everyone out there you don't want this thing. Get vaccinated and follow the same protocols for at least the rest of the year, honestly, because there's a lot of vaccine deniers, etc. So there is always still going to be a risk. So anyways, back to the real estate side, our Edmonton market is still pretty crazy. It's a seller's market. Our average selling price is now $470, and that's up 11.4% over a year ago. And Edmonton's market is usually very, very flat. Not as flat as Winnipeg, but Edmonton is just going a little crazy. Now, I would also agree with Laura June that very neighborhood specific listing that was a total gut job. Original owners, 40 years old house, just a standard bungalow, 1,200 feet, listed at $399. The city assessment was $380. I sold it for $431,888. That's crazy high. So to get an offer $32,000 over list price in Edmonton is pretty unusual, but now we're seeing it. Anything over $650, that's less chance of multiple offers, because we have a pretty tight band of where people can afford, and Edmonton is about anywhere from $350 to $600 is kind of the sweet spot, and neighborhood specific as well. So I think right now our inventory is going up a lot compared to exactly last year when COVID was locking down. Our year over year inventory has gone up 139% as of right now.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, but it's being absorbed right now. But don't forget COVID, that lockdown period was a little bit crazy. So everything's going to be a big jump. But our current sales are up 17.8% year over year compared to last year at this time. So pretty substantial jump, but not as crazy as other cities in Canada. I read the article that the average price now in Canada is $716,000. So the fact we're at $470 means everyone who can't afford to buy a house anywhere else in Canada, please move to Edmonton. Okay, that's my report. Thank you, guys.
Okay, does anybody else want to go over statistics about their?
I will.
Okay.
If you like. Our two-story homes are up 42.5% over the same time last year. 42%. So our average two-story homes now are $780,000, $990,000. Bungalows are up 49.8% over last year at $695,000, $464,000. And condos are up 30% to $427,000, $144,000. Number of sold properties from last year is up 164.9%.
So are people moving from condos to bungalows?
I think that more people, the boomers like me that are getting old, are downsizing their big homes because I'm not going anywhere, mind you, because I got a beautiful pool, nice backyard, 4-bedroom home. But I think people like me are downsizing because you're trying to get inventory onto the market, right? So I'm convinced, like I met this lady one day to buy some china from her, and like I'm in touch with her every week. I send her new listings every week because she's got this great big 4-bedroom house that overlooks the park, and I'm touching her every week to say, here's more bungalows, here's more bungalows. The problem is trying to find those bungalows as well, trying to get people into them to downsize. But now people are just, find me something. I don't care if the basement's not finished, I'll finish it. Just get me something to live in,
Yeah. What about you, Laura June? Are people moving from condos into single-family homes, small single-family homes?
Well, that started a year ago, right? That was a whole thing started a year ago, which is kind of what toppled the whole market here. You had the couple sitting in downtown Vancouver who, they're in 600 square feet, who both go to work every day to the office and then go out for dinner, go home, and that's their life. And suddenly they're both working from that 600 square foot condo. So they're moving from downtown a little further out, and right up to Abbotsford, Chilliwack. Like that's, people are now being put on permanent home. I've had a few clients actually, call me and say, yeah, I'm permanently now working from home, so I can live wherever. How far out can we go?
Yeah, Edmonton. What about you, Katie?
Yeah, I've got a lot of that happening as well. In fact, I've just looked after some clients who both work in Ottawa, but they reside in Squamish now, right? And they've just been given the seal of approval that, yes, you will not be coming back to work. So go live wherever you want. In terms of our statistics, like I said, our average price point just for all properties is over $1 million. That price point for a detached property right now is like 1.6, which is huge. That's a 51% increase year over year. That being said, this was a strange time this time last year. So it's a little inflated. But in terms of our inventory, we saw 50 new listings last month, which is 194% increase. So this time last year, we definitely didn't see a lot come to the market. So we're starting to see a bit more, but in terms of sales, we saw 30. So, and that's just in the detached market. So we're definitely in a seller's market, and we're definitely seeing people come from everywhere for Squamish right now.
How many realtors are in Squamish?
About, last time I checked, and I know that it's changing a lot, I believe in the Sea to Sky, they were reporting about 200.
Okay.
Feeling that's out of date, but that was the last number I got told.
And Jane, I think, Katie, you also serve the Whistler market, right? Do you want to comment a little bit?
Yeah. So Whistler's been doing phenomenally as well. I didn't want to bore too much about two different areas, but in terms of the overall price point for Whistler, I'll let you know. It is crunching the numbers. Basically, we've been seeing a lot of new investment going into Whistler. The average price point for any property in Whistler is just below 1.5 million. I just saw your note there, Jane. That was funny.
My dog's barking.
Things are moving really quickly. Like we're seeing the average days on market under 30 days, and that includes obviously your subject period, if you're lucky enough to get one. In terms of our absorption rate, we're in Squamish, it's like 62%, and in Whistler, it's at 42%. So a little bit more of a stronger market in Squamish right now, but kind of two totally different markets, if I'm being totally honest. Different buyers and sellers.
I find that here in Victoria, like I live in Machosa, which is on the outskirts. We have 4 listings in my area. So I have a client who's selling right next door. It's an awkward property because it's right on the peak of like a rock, and there's 30 steps to it. And when we sold it before, it was very hard to sell. And so we're going to be pricing it sharply. And I know it'll sell because it's rural, even with the stairs. Now it'll go. Ironically, in Cobourg, Ontario, my stepmom was selling her property last year. We struggled to get an offer last year during COVID. We did get one. They asked for everything in the house and she said no. And I think they just wanted to move in fait accompli. And then this year we got 2 offers and one full price in a faster market, it felt like. So it's interesting being the buyer or seller working with an agent in another market, just seeing how they work and what all the strategies are and all the terms and conditions and everything. It was a bit of empathy training for me, I found, to see how people keep in touch as well. So I'm finding as well that what you were saying, Katie, about buyers coming in from elsewhere in the country, like Teresa, buyers from Ottawa, that, you know, I'm showing properties virtually now. I'm not necessarily they're not even seeing the house before they come in. John, are you seeing that in Northern Vancouver Island? How are you handling it?
Yeah. So exactly. So this last month, I've done more Zoom tours than my whole history. A lot of people are coming from out of town. Now, it used to be Comox Valley used to be, I guess, the place to go if you can't afford Vancouver, Victoria. So people come to Comox because they can, you know, get that acreage for under 900, but not anymore. But we're still seeing people from all across Canada looking and buying here, and that's you know, demand is still high, and because of the people coming in from the Victoria market, Vancouver, you know, the prices are going up because these people are coming in with unconditional offers, cash in hand, and yeah, it's not us buying these properties. It's not the realtors buying the property. It's the buyers. We're just facilitating. And that's a major part of why our prices have gone up like 20% over the last couple of months.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I find that the buyers are coming in unconditional because it's a result of frustration from not winning an earlier offer. And so they go, well, if I just remove that condition, you know, you can't, I don't think any realtor says you have to go in unconditional.
Right.
The buyer says that.
But here, nobody's going with conditions. Nope, nobody. There isn't, I haven't written an offer all year with conditions, not one condition. You know, and I'm like you guys, I'm using WhatsApp because my military guys, my RCMP guys are coming from all over and they can't get here because they got a quarantine, right? When they go back home again, they're like, just show us. So like, you know, it's more efficient, quite frankly, because you get through the house faster because you're doing WhatsApp and you can zip through and get into another house rather than dragging people behind you. Seriously, you know, but Nobody's writing conditions because you won't get the house if you do. That's the reality.
Mm-hmm.
Lauren,
you do your home inspection ahead of time before the date that they're going to take the offer. You get your home inspection done ahead of time. They've got their letter from the bank that says they've got this. They got huge deposits, you know, like the days of $5,000 deposits when I was in Belleville, $1,000 deposits. Now it's 30,000, 50,000, 100,000. It's like, you know?
How can you do, we're finding we can't even do the home inspection because the appointments are 15 minutes long. So when you try to explain to a client, you're going to buy $1 million home, but you have 15 minutes to look at it. It's like, it blows them away. And so I've actually been seeing, I saw 2 agents actually get into it almost physically outside because the one guy was 25 minutes. And it was in the other guy's time, and there's 6 people all lined up with their little groups all down the driveway. So it's, I can see it's getting frustrating, and especially when but they haven't got a choice when they're holding offers. Because
we do 30 minutes here. What about you, Laura June? Did you have a comment?
We're seeing conditions again. That I have one right now in conditions. We're seeing that again. So that's how we know things have changed. The inspectors are back to work. That's, that's a big thing here, that at least, that piece of the puzzle. Some of them are really tight conditions, a day or two. We're not seeing, I had actually had an offer come in on one of my listings and the person wanted 2 weeks. And I was, can you tighten that up?
Well, also, I think if you, as a listing agent, if you get the seller to do a pre-inspection, then the buyer can rely on that if they want. And then that's up to them. That's at their discretion. But on the financing side, you still have to allow for an appraisal if they have over 20%.
Right, as a term rather than a condition.
Yeah, or access to the property 2 or 3 times. And also, Carol, you can book 2 appointments.
No, they've been doing that, but the guys are catching it. They're catching it, and the agent, they cancel it on you.
Oh, okay.
Actually, there was one gentleman that told me, and he ended up having the police because he called me. He did a home inspection at 10:30 at night because he knew the place was empty and they were away. So he went back with his lockbox code 10:30 at night with a home inspector.
Oh my goodness.
Trying to do it before the offer date, and he said he actually had somebody across the road called the police, and he said he had to explain he's a real estate agent with the home inspector. So it can get ingenious, but if there's people in the house, it might be a little harder. But
what we're doing here is we're saying, yes, you can go view the property. There is an inspector viewing the property. And then when he's in that room, you just are not in that room. So everybody maintains a distance. Okay, so last thing I want to talk about here is the new stress test coming in. So we're seeing an increase in, for anybody who is putting in over 20%, they will be subjected to a stress test. And I think this is a result of the government trying to pressure people with money to be subjected to more, to spend less, I guess. So, Stephen, what do you think about that?
Our market is a little bit more tenuous because a lot of first-time buyers are moving into the market, and any additional stress is difficult for them. But most of my offers are 20%, 25% or less, unless sometimes you get the odd cash buyer for an investment property. So interest rates have been creeping up. So I think we had a bit of a burst of activity in the first 3-4 months as people saw the interest rates creeping up. So with such announcements of more and more stress tests, people who have 3-month rate holds are going to start acting, and sometimes you'll get a little burst of activity as their rate holds are coming off and they have to pay higher rates or be subject to tougher rules. So, yeah. Okay.
Yep. Laura June?
Well, government is the biggest disruptor of real estate in BC. And, Stephen says, it's a bit tenuous there. Here, a simple change like that will quickly grind. It's like here is very extreme. We don't have these slow ebbs and flows. Any sort of change can grind everything to a halt in a day. So that's how quick it changes here. So I'm anticipating some of this slowdown in quotes, that we're experiencing is part of that. So that's why I'm kind of watching to see, will that carry beyond June 1st? And further slow it down, or will we just quickly bounce back to where it was?
Yeah, I think it slows down and then it bounces back. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I think that could be the stress test could be a reason why we've been so busy last month. Everyone's kind of, trying to get in before that takes effect. Yeah, so we'll see. It changes weekly here. So next week I'll have a different report. Yeah.
Katie, do you have any final comments?
Yeah, I agree with all the above. Typically, if we look at the past, the stress test when it got a little harder again, that definitely did have an effect on the marketplace. I assume that there will be some kind of relaxing in our market just because of that. And I agree that this month has been gangbusters just because people are trying to sneak in. And with the, interest rates are so key as well, with those creeping up, that again, people have locked in rates that they want to get for sure locked in. So yeah, I anticipate a little bit of a slowing down, but not necessarily like price slashing or anything like that. I think it'll just become a little bit less hectic.
Right. Carol?
I would probably say that a lot of people were trying to get in while they had the special rate, but I've noted right now with our rental market, what people have done is they've sold, they can't find anything. They've been caught up in multiples. They're all drained. Our rental market has gone nuts. Like, I mean, $3,000 for a house. Like a little house, not a big house, like a little house, or even our basement apartments for $1,700-$1,800, like for basement apartments, which is crazy. But I've had a lot of problems with people that are coming in, especially I have people coming in from Brazil, because I have a Brazilian client. It just keeps referring me to people from Brazil, and a lot of them I can't qualify them. Because I can't get them into the places because they don't have the credit history. And a lot of people can be picky and choosy because they're sitting there with 10 offers in front of them for rent. And they're not being, as you say about the Teresa, being courteous to the other agents. I got news for you. Those rental agents, I don't know why, but they just have no respect for anybody. Like, they don't even tell you, and you're following up, and then you find out, oh yeah, we rented 2 days ago, and you're still waiting to hear any response to the offer.
We don't, in BC, we're not licensed for rentals.
I know.
Very interesting. I always find that interesting. So Teresa, final comments about your market.
Well, we have an advantage or disadvantage to Ottawa agents because we have Quebec across the bridge 10 minutes. So the stress test slows things down. The first thing that slowed us down was our premier. He shut the province down. So that completely threw the real estate market into a nightmare because nobody was leaving. Nobody wanted anybody in their house. Everybody was going to get COVID if they walked into a house. So all of this, we're in our 4th lockdown now in our province now until into June. So that had an effect on our market, certainly. But I had people that last year I was trying to find them a house, and they had some stuff to do with their credit. So this year they're finally approved, they're ready to go, but they can't find a house in their price range like they could last year because the price of houses has gone up so much more. And they just called the other day and they said, like, Mama T, we love you, but we had to buy in Quebec, and I can't sell in Quebec. We had to buy in Quebec because that's the only place where we could afford to buy a house. Now the rules are different, and how they do everything is different, but it's 10 minutes away. So when they can just drive across the bridge in 10 minutes and get to work, she works at the hospital 10 minutes away, and you can buy more house, and they don't have the multiple offers. They do, but not to the same degree that we have here. I know that my military folks and my RCMP guys, they went out of town because they couldn't afford to buy a house in town. I had a guy this week that wanted to buy a house for $950,000, and I could not find him a house. It's a pretty healthy budget. If you can't find somebody a house for $950,000, it's a problem. So it's like, how far can you drive out of town? Before it was like 10 minutes is nothing. Now it's an hour and 10 minutes. That's nothing. It's a piece of cake. So it's like, it's crazy.
You could go to Edmonton and buy 2, right, Stephen?
Maybe 3.
14-hour drive.
Well, I found that my business has moved from the core this year to the outskirts. So I've been working in Sydney and Souk and North Saanich, Shawnigan. Normally I'm in like Victoria itself. So what's interesting is I realized, it only takes a few days to get caught up on what's going on in the market because everything's moving so quickly. You see everything and it's gone. So it has been very tiring. my clients have been incredibly patient. Sometimes we found them the ideal home, and sometimes they found the home that's right for just now. So, and then we'll be looking for the ideal home later, but just to get their foot in the market, because I feel living on an island, especially, and John can probably attest to this, the price is just going to go up because we have limited land. So
we have the same issue here. We have mountains, we have the ocean, and we have a border.
Mm-hmm.
And we just sit in the valley. That's it. So we're limited.
Yeah. Okay. Predictions for this coming year, Laura June?
Oh gosh, it's that first predictions. I think that things will remain strong and healthy. I think that we will be having this conversation in January, that was the most crazy year in real estate that saw the most significant gains in number of sales. I think in January, that's what we're going to be saying.
Teresa?
I think exactly the same thing. I don't think we're going to see that the market is going to drop people, whatever they're paying for their houses now, that 6 months time we're going to say, or even a year's time, sorry, you bought that house for 900, now it's worth 500. I think it's just going to balance out, you know, at some point in time. But I think we're going to still, in Ottawa anyways, we're going to remain strong, you know.
Okay. Carol?
Well, everybody in Toronto is going to be booking vacations to get out to escape from Toronto. So they probably won't be doing, no, I'm teasing. But no, I would imagine the market, I do believe that some people think that everything is going to drop in the city. But I think Toronto's just like a typical New York. Everything will come back and people will come back because they want the nightlife. They want the lifestyle. So I don't think they're going to stay. But as I said, everybody in real estate seems to have been dealing with people moving out of the core. And I think they're all going to either move back in or new people are coming, one or the other.
Yeah.
So.
Katie?
I'm going to be, reiterating pretty much what everyone's saying here. I do not see any kind of correction or the bubble bursting as people keep speculating. I do think that we're going to start seeing a little bit more balanced return, but I don't think that's going to negatively impact price points. In Squamish and Whistler and the surrounding areas, we are for sure like limited land, right? We're in a valley and it's highly desirable. And there's a lot of really exciting development coming into town, which is only good news for housing prices. So I think we're going to be sitting here in January saying, whew, well, that was something.
Yeah. Stephen?
I think the single family detached market will continue to be strong. I think one of the things we've learned from COVID, especially Carol, you can see that in Toronto, where people want to leave these little small condos and get more space. So people in low-rise condos, high-rise condos, they don't want to share the air with their neighbors. They don't want to be stuck in an elevator with their neighbors. So they want to get into at least a townhouse and a single family detached if they can afford it. I think the market will continue to be strong seller's market for the rest of the year, but our prices never go up too wildly because unlike being on an island or being in Fraser Valley, is that we have endless land and it's flat. So other than the little bit of a ribbon by the river valley, where of course there's always going to be expensive houses, the average person lives on a piece of flat land. So there's a lot of different properties you can choose. Oh, you missed one. There's another one just like it. So it's not that special, so plenty of fish to finish the dating analogy. Okay.
John?
Yeah, demand I think will remain strong here for the next year. I think it will maybe level out a bit calm down a bit in the summer based on the past, history, but I think it's still going to remain strong and pick up again in September, October. And yeah, hopefully by January, we'll be meeting in person so we can,
Yeah, hopefully.
Start getting out there, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So for here, my prediction, I think we actually peaked in January. We have been steady since then, just slightly. Average prices come down a little bit, but list to sale ratio went down from 120% to just under 100%. We're seeing a little bit of inventory coming up. We have over 1,400 listings. We have 1,400 agents, so there's a bit of competition. This is where I think the agent fatigue is happening, but I'm anticipating that exactly what Katie said. I don't think there's going to be a negative impact on pricing, but we are going to see a bit of settling happening. So strong market, good time to sell, but don't overprice your listing. All right. Thank you so much. You guys want to do this again sometime?
Or
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But I just wanted to say, if anybody has any questions of any of these realtors, please connect with us. If you guys want to say your name, your phone number, and your email, that would be great. Laura June.
Laura June from Remax Little Oak Realty. Laura June at remax.net is my email, and my phone number is 604-351-8977.
Carol.
Carol Bass, Remax West in Greater Toronto. My number is 416-520-9489, or thewomanonthemove@gmail.com.
Love it.
Love it.
Katie.
Katie McLachlan, Remax Sea to Sky Real Estate. My phone number is 604-213-0833. And my email is katie@myc2sky.com.
Okay, John.
Hi, John Sheehan from Remax Ocean Pacific Realty, serving the Comox Valley, Courtney Comox Cumberland, and Black Creek. And my number is 778-992-2722. And my email is john@islandliving.homes.
Hey, Stephen.
Hi, I'm Stephen Lau from Remax Real Estate in Edmonton. My cell phone number is 780-905-8282. My email is stephen@edmontonhomepros.ca, and my website is edmontonhomepros.ca. Thank you.
Okay. And I'm Jane Johnston with the Briar Hill Group at Remax Camosun here in Victoria, BC. My email is briarhillgroup@gmail.com. My number is 250-744-0775. And you can reach me at briarhillgroup@gmail.com. All right, everybody, have a great...
We forgot Teresa.
Oh, Teresa, sorry.
Thanks, Jane. Hi, Teresa Whitmore from Remax Hallmark in Ottawa. I cover within an hour of Ottawa, Stittsville, Embrun, Limoges, all those other places. You can reach me at 613-899-4776. And my email address is Teresa@teresawhitmorehomes.com. And thanks for today, Jane and everybody. So nice to see you all.
So nice to see you all too. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate you and your time. And I know how valuable it is, especially in this market. And we'll do it again. All right, you guys, take care. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Happy selling.